let's look at the F statistic itself so that you can understand what we mean by between group variability, within group variability, and let's see, understanding these sources of variability. Oh, and how and why analyzing variances tells us anything about whether the means are different. So we're actually going to start off with this one here, within group variability, all right? So what we need to do to understand this source of variability is look at the numbers within each group separately. So that's where the word within comes. You're going to look within a group. Now, clearly, these scores are variable, right? We could measure the variance here, and we would see that there's a decent amount of variability. The question becomes, why are these scores variable? Well, they're variable because each of them are representing different people, right? These are all different individuals, different people, and everybody's going to have their own quirks and whatnot. So we can say that one source of within group variability, we're just going to chalk up to individual differences. That is what is producing variability among these scores. But then there's always error, right? Whether we're talking about any kind of error, whether it's human error, machine error, sampling error, whatever our error is, there's always going to be some error. So within group variability is looking at the reasons why or the sources for, that kind of means the same thing, the reasons why or sources for the variability. And we said that it is because of individual differences and error. All right. Now, let's move over to this group because we're not just going to look at one, we have to look at all of them. So now we ask ourselves, why is it that these scores are variable? Well, same reason, right? They're made up of a different group of people. Remember, we're starting with the one-way independent ANOVA, so these are a different group of people, and error. So it's the same thing, individual differences and error. And then finally, the same thing here, individual differences and error. All right, so what within group variability is going to do is it's going to figure out, well, what is the variability here? What is the variability here? And finally, what is the variability here? And then it's going to take the average amount of variability, and that is called pooled variance. All right, so this part here within group variability is measured by pooling, like a swimming pool, pooling your variability, your sources of variability. But notice that the only reasons why scores are different within each group is because of individual differences in error. These scores here cannot be different because they were exposed to different levels of the independent variable. Why is that? Because they're only in this group, right? There is no possible way this person can be different from this person because this person heard the same sex voice and this person heard the different sex voice. That's impossible. Every single person here heard the same sex voice. So that's why within group variability does not ever include a treatment effect. Okay, a treatment effect would be observed if there were differences between the groups. But within a group, we can't have a treatment effect because within each and every group, they were exposed just to one level of the IV. There can be no treatment effect. All right? Okay, so when we talk about within group variability, a lot of times people just call it error variance. Instead of saying it's individual differences plus error, they just say it's error variance. So within group variability is error variance. think of it as baseline noise, that your treatment effect has to be greater than the background noise for you to detect it. All right, so all of this error variance is like the sound on a radio station, when it's not tuned in. In order to hear the radio station, in order to hear the treatment effect, that background noise either has to be really small, or your signal, your treatment effect, has to be very large for you to hear it. All right. So within group variability, scores are different within each group because of individual differences in error, not because of a treatment effect. All right. And that's because they all got the same level. And remember that within group variability is calculated by looking at the variance for each one separately and then pooling them together, which is a fancy way of saying getting the average amount of variability.